Our world is changing at a rate that at times seems breathtaking. We see social and political change, economic change, and rapid changes in science and technology. Nothing, however, has quite the ability to impact so many as the risk from the increasing frequency and intensity of natural hazards, many of which are due to our changing climate. Some hazards come quickly, like storms, floods, landslides, wildfires, earthquakes, and tsunamis. Others develop slowly, like drought and desertification, causing crop failure and food insecurity. We all face disaster and climate risk. However, there are people within our communities, in urban and rural areas, who face a much higher degree of exposure. And as these events escalate, so too does their vulnerability. Disasters are not gender, age, or disability neutral. Women, girls, children, older people, those who are poor, people with disabilities, ethnic and other marginalized groups are disproportionately affected by disasters. Women and girls are particularly exposed to increased gender-based violence during times of crisis. Many people are also forced from their homes due to the impacts of disasters and climate change. During these times, everyone's life, livelihood, and dignity can be negatively impacted. That's why our laws and policies need to be people-centered, to protect and include those most at risk. It is critical that government agencies, organizations, and individuals know their roles, responsibilities, and rights when it comes to disasters and climate change action. Effective laws provide the clarity on who needs to do what before, during, and after disaster strikes. And let's not forget about money. Laws provide the basis for budget allocation for necessary actions to address disaster and climate risk at all levels. Often, not until after a major disaster occurs do policymakers realize the significance of having effective climate and disaster risk management laws. However, so much more can and should be done beforehand. So, we really want to do something to ensure the safety and inclusion of all our people before, during, and after disasters, and make sure our institutions and systems are disaster and climate proof. But where do we start? This is where the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescents, IFRC's Disaster Law Program comes in. The Disaster Law Program seeks to reduce human vulnerability by promoting legal preparedness for disasters and climate change. It has undertaken global research and developed expert guidance in a number of key areas. Disaster Preparedness and Response Law Checklist. Laws, policies, and institutional arrangements have a crucial role to play in supporting disaster preparedness and response. The Disaster Preparedness and Response Law Checklist provides guidance on how to prepare laws to better prepare and respond to disasters. International Disaster Response Law. Even the most well-prepared countries may need international support when a major disaster strikes. However, regulatory issues can hinder efforts. The International Disaster Response Law (IDRL) guidelines assist governments to become better prepared for common legal problems in international response. Disaster risk reduction and law. Ensuring relevant laws are risk-informed are key to preventing and mitigating disaster and climate impacts. The Disaster Risk Reduction Law Checklist and Handbook provides a list of 10 key areas to ensure laws provide the best support for risk reduction, protection, gender, and inclusion. In recognizing that disasters are not gender neutral and disproportionately affect marginalized groups, the Disaster Law Program can offer advice on how to support equality, protection, and inclusion, including for those who have been displaced, ensuring their input in disaster-related legislation, policies, and procedures, so that no one is left behind. Okay, let's recap. What do we know? We know that climate change is having a significant impact on both the frequency and intensity of disasters throughout the world, and we have seen that vulnerable people are increasingly exposed to risk. We also know that developing effective climate and disaster laws is not a simple process and requires a whole of government and society approach. Most importantly, we now know that help is at hand through the IFRC, which has the resources needed for policymakers and legislators to make effective disaster laws. So, here's the call to action bit.